evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Raising Bulls, brought to you by the Beautiful Game Network, Roughneck Scarves, and Golden Goal Press. We are the only podcast dedicated to the New York Red Bulls 2 of USL tonight, or of the USL Championship, rather. Tonight, we're going to recap a very, very big win from last week. Dollar Hot Dog Night brought with it some fireworks and some good and bad play all around. We've got a little bit of news we can discuss. We have an interview with Roy Boateng for you, the currently still rehabbing center back that the Red Bulls drafted in the first round this past offseason. And we'll preview the match against St. Louis FC this coming week. Joe Steen, welcome back to the show. The Red Bulls, too, are on a 6-game unbeaten streak, including beating the first-place Tampa Bay Rowdies this past week. Are we all on cloud nine? Is this as good as it gets this season?
I don't think it's as good as it gets because this team's made 3D playoff runs the last 3 years. So no, but it was a very good. Jurgensen gets 2 goals. I thought he took both of his goals impressively. A great pass from John Token on the second one. I thought Evan Loro came up huge in this match. Probably put in his best performance of the season, made some key saves early on and late to preserve the win after Kyle Duncan got sent off. Didn't have his best game, made a couple really poor challenges, which the second one got him sent off. But I really thought this was a complete team effort. I thought they did a good job neutralizing Tampa Bay for most of the game. And, they kind of sat back in the second half when they went down a man. But I think the most important thing is they kept a clean sheet against one of the more dangerous attacking teams in the league.
They did sit back, but they still were finding chances on the other end, which I was really impressed with. Let's go down that list. You pretty much hit all of the things that I wanted to bring up, but let's go down the list. Tampa Bay comes into this match. Obviously, they are in first place. They are controlling their own destiny, and they already have a victory over this Red Bull team this year. But they came into MSU, and their game plan, I think, was well executed. They wanted to keep the ball sort of around the perimeter. They wanted to play physically and kind of disrupt New York's attack. But they were sloppy in the first half, and their turnovers led to both New York Red Bulls 2 goals, including the first one, which was just a insanely poorly handled back pass to the keeper, which Jorgensen is able to run down and finish. And the second one, it's just a back line that's getting caught. Now, we talked about it before the match, and one of the things that we said on this show was make Tampa Bay defend with the ball on the ground, and you can catch them. When you start just lobbing in crosses, they can stop it. And here they are, blowing it with the ball on the ground. The Red Bulls walk away with 3 points. That was exciting. But what did you think in terms of how Tampa Bay approached the match, and do you think it was a mistake to maybe try to be more patient and not as direct as they were down in Tampa Bay?
I didn't really understand it. I mean, the way Red Bull 2's been given problems this year is playing direct. I mean, whether it's long balls over the top, set pieces have been really something that's given them trouble a lot. Tampa Bay really didn't take advantage of any of them. It was very weird. I mean, I don't know if it was maybe a personnel thing. I know when they played down in Tampa Bay, they had Andrew Tunari, who had a huge impact on that first game, and they didn't have him this game. Maybe they were missing him, maybe his bite in the midfield and his ability to create. But they really didn't. I mean, late on, they troubled, and they had some good chances, and, Evan came up really big in this game, I think. I don't think he got enough credit for how well he played, but it was puzzling. I mean, I don't know, maybe they tried a new tactic, but, the way you give Red Bull 2 problems is playing direct, which they seem to not even try in the first half.
Yeah, I fully agree. But like you said, a big part of that was Evan Loro and the way that he came up big time and again. Whenever the Red Bulls had a defensive breakdown in this game, and there were a couple, Loro had to make probably 4 or 5 big-time saves that kept them in this match. Tampa Bay also wasted a golden opportunity. One of the worst misses I've seen this season at MSU. I'll qualify it like that because there was that Nashville miss earlier in the year that was just
Yeah.
head scratching. But this one was real bad. Right in front of the net, inside the 6-yard box, and you put it over. You're not going to win many games when things like that are happening to you. What else? Jorgensen, we talked about his goals. His girlfriend was in the stands, and her family. We confirmed it with him afterwards. We saw some folks sitting in the stands wearing Jorgensen jerseys. We asked him about it afterwards, if it was family, if that gave him the boost for the week. And he said, it was exciting, but it wasn't on his mind. I think clearly we could see that it was on his mind. This man had a night. Both of the goals really showcased what he does best. I think if you look at his reaction after the second one, the pass from Tolkien, it is a great sign to see how enthusiastic he was to give Tolkien plaudits for his ability to see the pass and measure that pass properly. And overall, it just looks like he's so much more comfortable than he has ever been in the system and with this team.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this earlier in the season, and this is something that I mentioned that it was going to take time for him to grow, and I mean, maybe they tried to force him into the first team too fast. I also think playing with Tom Barlow helped him a little bit this game. Another forward up there with him that could, help take some of the pressure off of him. But this is something we talked about with him. His movement on Token on the second goal was great, and Token was able to find him with the pass. And it was a bad back pass, but you have to credit Jorgensen for the hustle and the ability to chase down the ball and press the defender into making a mistake, and that's what got him the first goal.
Fully agree. And John Tolkien, who gave him that ball, we've been talking about him a lot over the last couple of weeks because he's been putting in some really nice performances. He had to fill in this week at defensive midfielder. Kyle Zayats had surgery. I believe it's a broken nose, or maybe it was just some kind of surgery on the nose. He's out for 2 weeks. Kofi was missing because of yellow card suspension. And so they were light in that position. Tolkien stepped up, and I thought he did a pretty good job, considering that he hasn't really played there for this team yet or played there at this level. And his passing, I thought, was really nice on the night. I thought maybe there were times where it looked a little bit much for him physically because Tampa Bay is a physically superior side. I think that's pretty well known across the board. Most of the time, teams that come up against New York Red Bulls 2 are going to be physically more imposing just because of the age difference in a lot of cases. But I thought he settled in really nicely, maybe exposed a little bit of his speed. He's not exactly as fast as some of the other fullbacks we've had on the team or midfielders who've played that position. But overall, I thought it was another really nice showing from a guy who's making a strong case to become the next homegrown player for the Red Bulls.
Yeah, I mean, there's not you pretty much hit the nail on the head. I mean, he's not the fastest guy, but his passing was so great on the night. And I mean, yeah, Tampa Bay, a lot of teams do physically impose. I mean, he's young, he's a young kid, but I mean, I really, from when he's came in, he's looked like he belonged, and I would not be surprised to see him get a homegrown contract.
For what it's worth, and this could mean nothing. His father was in in RBA yesterday, or not yesterday, on the weekend watching the game against the Crew. So his father's hanging out around the team. That could be a sign that they're in talks to maybe bring him on. It could just be that he's part of the academy setup and academy parents go all the time. But just something to keep note of, guys. Speaking of academy kids, Bryce Lebel gets his second appearance for the team. I do not remember his first. I apologize, Bryce. It must have been a short cameo. This time around, maybe it's a little bit much for him, and I think Wolenek says as much on the night, that it looked like maybe the speed was a little bit much, and coming into this type of game might have been a little bit much, but he did well, and I thought for the number, you look at the lineup, and you see Kyle Duncan goes out, and John Wolenek looks at the bench and says, "Academy kid, get in there and do your thing." That's really encouraging. Yes, Tolkien went back to left back when that happened, but it was really nice to see Wolyniec again just say, like, sure, we are comfortable with our 2-goal lead, even though we surrendered a 2-goal lead the week before, and we're willing to put an academy kid out there to kind of get the gritty experience that it's going to require for him to make the next jump.
Well, we know how much these guys trust. I mean, Wolyniec and his staff trust these academy players. I mean, they basically started a lot. They started a lot of them when they made the trip to Atlanta to go against Atlanta United 2 this year. So I mean, he's always talked about it. It's development first, and then the wins come second. I mean, I think it was great of LaBelle to get the experience of a probably Red Bulls 2's most important game on the season so far, and get experience of that atmosphere, and to be able to come into there, for Wolyniec to be able to trust these guys, it says a lot about how how this team operates and how they just don't miss a beat no matter who's on the field.
Yeah, fully agree. And last thing I want to talk about from this match, the red card to Kyle Duncan. Watching this play and watching it develop, it looked like it was nothing more than two guys leaning on each other, shoulder-to-shoulder battle on a 50-50 ball. The replay, you see Duncan's arm does come back and strike. I don't remember who was challenging for the ball. But it doesn't look malicious. It certainly doesn't look like a yellow card, and I was very surprised at this call. I was wondering what your thoughts were.
I guess it's tough to be able to tell intent in real time. So I could see why the yellow card was given. But I think it's a yellow? No. I think it's completely unintentional, and he probably should have stayed on. But there was a couple of tackles earlier in the game that, I mean, he really shouldn't have made that. Got him in trouble in the first place. And when you're already on a yellow, the referee, is looking at you like, if there's a questionable challenge, you're going to get sent off, unfortunately.
All right. That's a fair take. I'll give it. Okay. So let's talk man of the match. Who you got?
I've got Evan Laurel. I thought he came up huge in this game, made some big saves, and definitely put his best performance of the season on in this game, and he got a clean sheet. So, I mean, I'm happy for him to finally be able to get one against a tough opposition.
Yeah, you know what? I'm looking at this match. I see Jorgensen with his two nice goals, nice goals even. And I'm going to have to agree with you that despite how nice those goals were, despite how nice it was to see his performance throughout the 90, you got to give it to Evan. Without him in net, this might even be a 4-2, a 5-2 result. And Tampa Bay walks out of MSU with their first ever win visiting the Red Bulls. So, Evan? Let's stick with Matthias. Real quick, he was named to the USL Team of the Week for his 2-goal performance against Tampa Bay. We are absolutely thrilled to see that, and it's nice that he's also starting to get recognition now from the league. And, don't look now, but he is soaring up those scoring charts. He's still behind Tom Barlow. He's still behind Jared Stroud, but he's on 8 goals for the season. And if he continues to play there's no reason to think that he wouldn't continue scoring. It would be interesting to see him get into the mix. It would be interesting to see him pass Tom at some point, considering how well Tom has done for this team.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, all right. And Matthias, I mentioned it before, his girlfriend was at the match the next day or 2 days later. He tweeted out, 4 months ago, we said goodbye to each other. Now she is part of my everyday life again with a big heart. Let the show begin. Muscles and soccer. That's the only way I can describe those emojis. That is great. Hopefully that's something that helps him settle in even more. It's wonderful. And, maybe this is the start of the rise of Jorgensen. We've been waiting a little bit, but it could be the time for him to truly rise up amongst the strong striker core that seems to be moving through these two sides.
Yeah, I mean, he keeps scoring goals. I mean, he continues to develop. I think he's come along quite well in these last couple months.
Fair. The other news, we finally have a director of Red Bull's Academy hire. We've been waiting for a long, long time since David Longwell left the position. That position is finally filled by Sean McCafferty. He is the former FC Barca Residency Academy director. He was there since 2016. Did a lot of good work there. He has two players who obviously graduated from there and did very, very well. The first is Julian Arujo. I'm definitely saying that wrong. I'm sorry, Julian. And Matthew Hoppy. Again, I'm definitely saying both those names wrong. Probably should have checked before we started, but here we are. Arujo is playing with the Galaxy and getting time there. Hoppy signed with Schalke. Those are good moves to see, especially from an academy. You want to see them developing good young players who then move on to get action with first teams and recognition from international teams. So this is great news. They specifically name drop wanting to create more players like Tyler Adams, Sean Davis, Alex Muyl, Connor Lade, and Derek Etienne. Now, before everyone gets on the whole Connor Lade thing, do remember that at one point he was much younger and much scrappier, and Thierry Henry said very nice things about him. Yes, he's a little bit older. He's slowed down a little bit now, but he's still a great personality for this team. So I don't want to hear any kind of Lade bashing around here. What do you think of the hire, Joe? Oh. Hey, there he is. Are you there, Joe?
Sorry.
Hey, there you go. What do you think of the hire?
Yeah, I'm here. I think it's a great hire. One, this team really takes pride in their academy, and have someone come from Barcelona's academy, local academy that has done such a good job over there. And even in the press conferences, and even in the training, when talking to Armas and Wolniak at training and post-game press conferences, they always talk about their academy, how they take pride in it, how they want to build up from the bottom. And I think hiring someone that has produced players and wants to produce guys like Tyler, like Sean, like Connor Lade, and like Derek, I think that's something that I think it's really something to look forward to.
Okay, fair. You got a little bit of interesting distortion coming through, but I liked it. It was a little daft punky, but it was pretty good. Yeah, it's definitely good news. It's good to see that they finally have someone in place. It was clear that they take their time making these hires, just like they take their time making transfers, because they want to make sure that they get the right people in. Now, that said, they've really struck out on the last two academy director hires. Hopefully, this is a better situation, and we start seeing more players graduating through. We know that there's a strong talent pool, but keep in mind, things are about to open up tremendously. I've continued to hear from fairly reliable sources that the rules of what's the word I'm looking for here? The rules about your oh man, I blew it.
Prospects.
Thank you. Finding prospects from a specific region are going to be lifted. Regions are no longer going to be associated with the players that you can recruit to your academy, and thus be brought in to be eventually signed as homegrown players. Relaxing those regional restrictions is going to give the Red Bulls a chance to get a lot of great talent from around the country that see a path to the pros with the Red Bulls, and it's going to be very interesting to see how that goes moving forward. We also know that they're going to be doing some kind of not exactly a residency, but there are players who are going to be coming in and staying with host families. So they're really kicking this up and putting it into gear. So there's some interesting stuff that's coming down the pike, but we don't have all of the answers just yet. That's it for now. We're going to take a break. That's kind of a long first segment. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking to Roy Boateng. So stick around. And we're back. I am delighted now to be speaking to a guy that we thought we'd be seeing a little bit more of this year. Injuries kind of derailed that a little bit, but we're very excited to have him. It's Roy Boateng. How are you doing, Roy?
Hey, man. How's it going?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Doing well. Yeah, I'm escaping this heat, but other than that, it's been good.
Yeah, it has been miserable out the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But one good sign in that time is that you were back out and training. How does that feel?
Oh, man, it feels amazing to be back. I've been out for, 4.5 months now. And it's just such a joy to be back out there on the field.
My understanding is you're back maybe even sooner than they thought you would be.
Right, yeah. So originally it was supposed to be like a 6-month kind of recovery. And, following my last checkup about a month and a half ago, they said that I was like a month and a half ahead of schedule. So they sped things up, and now here I am. It's been great.
Walk me through what that was like, finding out when you were first injured, and maybe what you were thinking at the time. Obviously, you were very new to a team. That could be maybe a stressful situation, looking in and saying, I'm going to be on the bench for a while here, healing up while these other guys are getting their opportunities.
Yeah, I found out that I needed surgery when we were in Florida for the first preseason trip. And, it is a nerve-wracking time for some of your team. I'm meshing with guys, connecting, but also, wanting to display your talents. So it was pretty hard news to receive, knowing the extent of the injury and also how long it would take. And at first, it's just something you're trying really hard to avoid and trying to find other ways of, playing through it and whatnot. But ultimately it was the best decision. And, now I'm glad that I have it being on the other side of it now. And,
what has the season been like for you then to be sitting there and watching, and what's your takeaway?
The season's been, for the most part, in comparison to last year, I know we obviously won the Eastern Conference and that, and so people had high hopes for that in the beginning. And it's been up and down in the beginning of the season, but we've picked up some points, and then we've also dropped some points and picked up some points. So it's been good, generally, but I felt like, and still feel like the guys are hungry for more, to kind of, replicate last season and then also do better. So yeah, it's a hungry group, a very hardworking group, and, we're always trying to be better.
I'm not sure what your previous experience has been, but looking at the way that things are kind of falling this season and having to go through these difficult moments, do you see that as a positive, or not necessarily something that will affect the group moving forward? Because it could coalesce the team to have to go through these sort of trials and tribulations.
Sorry, what do you mean by that?
I mean, going through difficult moments where, maybe there's inconsistencies or there's errors, and kind of having to pick up the pieces week in and week out, dealing with, depth issues, with guys missing matches for fitness or international, call-ups and stuff. Does that maybe help the group come together because everybody has to be relied upon and everybody has to grow at the same sort of time?
I think that, the team is a very tight-knit group to begin with. It's very close group. And yeah, like going through adversity definitely brings a group together. And I think it's shown, and it will continue to show, kind of fighting back and getting better continually.
Let's journey back to the beginning, as it were. You came to the U.S. when you were 8 years old, is that correct?
Right, yeah.
When did you start playing, though?
Well, I was always playing soccer even before that, back in Ghana. Neighborhood kids, like, get a ball together and play street ball. But when I came here, I started playing immediately just because it was a good way to, get out of the house and also make friends. And I knew it was something I loved to do. So, yeah, that was right off the get-go. I signed up for the nearest club back home in Roanoke Park. And, yeah, I've been playing ever since.
At what point did you start to kind of rise up the ranks? Was there like a travel team you joined? Did an academy pick you up?
Yeah. There's a travel team that picked me up when I think I turned like 14. There was this new emerging academy called Sonoma Academy, and one of the coaches saw me play and really liked what he saw, so they brought me on, and I played with them for about a year and a half, and then that collapsed for some reason. So this other traveling team called Santa Rosa United liked me, and they invited me to play with them, and I had been playing with them since then till college.
And through that experience, did you start to see yourself as maybe potentially becoming a professional footballer?
Yeah, it's always been a dream of mine, and kind of as I kept playing, the more I felt confident in myself and my abilities, and I feel like it was affirmed definitely through different ways and different accomplishments, and yeah, so at a certain point you kind of get a feel for like, wow, like I could really do this, and the doors have opened up in a way where I feel like now that I'm here, I can actually do what I love and excel at it. So,
is it still a little bit surreal because you haven't had those moments on the field just yet?
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to have my first professional debut. Like, that's still that's still in the books, and so I imagine it's going to be a really good and really exciting experience. So I definitely can't wait for that.
Have you had a chance to talk to Sean Nealis at all about what it's been like for him?
Yeah, a little bit, and he shared his experience too, and how much of a joy it is to compete at that level, and so yeah, we've managed to talk a little bit about that. Yeah.
So with you getting back into shape and on the field and gaining fitness, what are your expectations for the remainder of the year?
I really don't really have like an expectation. I'm kind of taking it week by week, setting goals weekly of where I want to be fitness wise, where I want to be sharpness wise. And then, when the opportunity presents itself, I know I'll be ready, not only just mentally, but now physically. So, right now it's just getting full fitness and, going from there in the next step, and then getting the games and seeing where that goes. But it's more of a week by week process.
Fair. Oh, well, I meant to ask you when we were talking about youth soccer, did you start off as a defender?
No, I actually played forward and left winger, actually, for a while. I played it until I think I was like 16 or 17, and I think it was at my D camp. The coach that became my college coach at Davis actually suggested I try that spot out because I was fast, athletic, and he wanted me to give that a shot. And I excelled a lot at it, so that was kind of the transition for that. But yeah, I had been playing striker.
Everybody starts off as a striker.
Right. Yeah, you want to score the goals. So.
Yeah, exactly. When you moved back to center back, did it feel like the right place right away?
Yeah, that was the kind of the crazy part. Everything just kind of clicked, You see the field in a whole different way, and it just really worked. It worked really well. The first time I played center back and at a high level, I think it was at the ID camp for UC Davis, and I got MVP just my first time playing center back. So that was positive affirmation enough to make me explore that position.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, Roy, this has been absolutely fantastic. I'm going to subject you now to the lightning round if you're ready.
Okay, yeah. That's good.
Okay, popcorn, yes or no?
Yes.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Marvel or DC?
Marvel all the way.
Super Mario Brothers or Sonic the Hedgehog?
Ooh, I'm a Sonic guy.
There you go. We get very few Sonic the Hedgehogs. I feel like everybody always says
Really?
Mario. Yeah.
Yeah, I had Sonic on my Game Boy SP growing up. So
there you go.
That's my guy.
Who's your favorite team to play as in FIFA?
Favorite team to play as in FIFA. I've been playing with Napoli a lot recently. Yeah.
I like it.
What was that?
I like it. Everybody's always saying Barcelona, Real Madrid, Man City. I like hearing Napoli. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, Napoli's fun because they're like attack minded and they're high pressing, and that vibes with me. And Insigne Mertens combo up top is crazy.
There you go. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, last but not least, this is what I call the Derek Etienne Award. It is who is the worst dancer on the New York Red Bulls 2?
Worst dancer? Wow. Kind of putting me on the spot here. Worst dancer? That's a tough one. Man, everyone's generally really good, at dancing.
You're so diplomatic. This is nice.
Yeah, I don't want to throw. Well, I don't have a problem throwing anyone in the bus, but relatively, I think everyone can move pretty well.
Do you want me to give you a list of who's been named so far,
Okay,
and then maybe you could pile on?
Been named?
Okay, hold on. All right, so we've got Chris Lemma, Reese Buckmaster,
okay.
Kyle Zayats, Janusz Luba,
Ooh.
and Marcus Epps.
I'm surprised Marcus is on that list. Really, that must be just a troll answer. But okay, I would have to say probably Kyle Zayak if I'm iffy on who would be the best dancer of that group.
There you go.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Sorry, Kyle.
Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and we hope that your recovery continues to go well.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And when we come back, we're going to preview the game against St. Louis, so stick around. And we're back. We've got our final segment now. We're going to preview the match against St. Louis FC. Get ready, Iron Maiden fans. St. Louis's record on the season is 6-6-6. The number of the beast. They are 1-3-1 on the season, 2-5-3. Or sorry, in the last 5 matches, they are 2-5-3 away from home. Their win, which came this past weekend, was against Bethlehem Steel. They won 3-0. It is their first win since when do you think, Joe?
Since April.
Their first win since April. Woof.
Wow.
They beat Bethlehem, as I mentioned, 3-0. They lost to the Rowdies 4-1, Charlotte 2-1, Swope Park 2-1, and they drew Loudoun United 2-2 in their last 5 games. Main goal scorer Kyle Gregg with 5 goals. Russell Cicerone and Sam Fink have 4. Kadeem Dakers has 3. Caleb Calvert 2. Audie Jepson, Joaquin Rivas, Matt Boehner, Albert Dikwa, and Mastanabal Kasher all have 1. Assists, Lewis Hilton is the guy getting it done there. He's got 4 assists on the season. Then the aforementioned Casher has 3. Then Greg and Cicerone have 2. Thomas Gomez, goalkeeper Thomas Gomez, gets an assist on the year. Rivas, Matt Thomas, Bradley Camden, Fewu, Guy Abend, and Paris Guy all have 1. Lewis Hilton is the guy driving this team forward, by the way. He's got the most chances created with 38. And like I said, they won their first match since April this past weekend against Bethlehem Steel. They're not a bad team. They can absolutely get things done on both sides of the ball, but something happened. Earlier this season, they were a fantastic team defensively. They really did a good job of keeping clean sheets. They were picking up wins. They were leading the East not that long ago, and since have had a tremendous drop-off. They are now in 10th place, tied with Charlotte. They're in a desperate situation, and desperate teams, as we know, are very dangerous. When you look over this team, the other thing you should mention, Anthony Poulos, son of Tony Poulos, is the manager. He moved away from England because of his name. Honestly, that's really what happened. There's an article about it. He wanted to sort of get a fresh start in the States where he wouldn't be compared to his father constantly, and here we are mentioning his father. Is not to compare you to him, though, sir. He's got a good keeper in Thomas Gomez. I think his defense lets him down a little bit. They've been a little rough. The first 3 months of the year, like I said, or not 3 months, the first 2 months of the year, they were fantastic. They were defense first. They did a great job getting behind the ball, keeping things organized. And now they're really getting pulled apart a lot. And I think part of it comes from teams breaking lines and pulling players out of position. But part of it is just bad communication too. And it's difficult to figure out how to solve problems like that. And so they really had a tough time. But they got a great result against Beth Steel. It was 3-0. They probably could have won by a couple more. They started the second half scoring twice in the first 5 minutes and kept peppering Beth Steel with shots, but couldn't quite get the breakthrough. They're talented offensively, but it's not always working. Kyle Gregg, who I mentioned before, their top scorer, he is a pain in the butt. Really good striker, great at doing what I would call the Brandon Allen things, taking the ball down in the box, 1-2 touches, looking for opportunities. He's got a good hard shot with his right foot. He can be dangerous in the air. It's going to be a lot for the Red Bulls to take care of, but at MSU, they usually get the job done. Joe, what are you expecting to see in this match?
I'm expecting, I think it's going to be a bit tighter than Red Bulls 2-1. I think they're going to be coming off a high from the Tampa game, but they're going to have to be focused in this game because they only have 3 home matches left after this. So this is something that they're going to have to look to try and get as many points as they can at home before they go on their annual road trip in August and September and October to end the season. So I think this is going to be the type of game where listen, St. Louis, I think they're a good defensive team. I think they struggle a little bit offensively. You mentioned Kyle Gregg. He's probably their most dangerous player, but they've only scored 24 goals in the year, which out of the top 10 teams in the East, they are 10th out of 10. So I mean, I think they're going to be they're going to try and frustrate Red Bull 2 a little bit, and I think Red Bull 2 is going to have to again, take their time like they did against Tampa Bay, look for their opportunities, and try and break this team down. I think they're gonna be able to, because I think at MSU they just seem to be a much better team when they're at home than they are on the road. I don't know what it is, but they seem to come out, they seem to press very well. They get turnovers. They're very good in transition, and they just seem to have be able to score a lot of goals at home. I mean, they've scored 36 goals at home this year in 13 games compared to 13 goals in 8 games on the road. So
yeah, pretty imbalanced.
I mean, it's really unbalanced. What I have liked in previous outside of the Memphis game, I think outside of the Memphis and Bethlehem games, I think their defense has improved. And they're going to get Jean-Christophe Kofi back this week from suspension, which I think is going to help the midfield out. So I think a lot of things are tilting in Red Bull 2's favor this week.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's a good time, too, because, like we said, they're about to go on the road. It's going to be another tough couple of weeks. Sure, the first one's against Hartford, but don't discount that team. They can be dangerous. They can trouble teams. And if you're not up for any match in this league, just like if you're not up for any match in any league, it doesn't matter the team's position in the standings. They can absolutely clip you and teach you a lesson in respect. Let's get a prediction from you. What do you think? What's this one going to be?
I'm going to say 3-1 Red Bulls 2.
I think that's fair. I'm going to call it a 2-0 win. Another 2 goals for Matthias Jorgensen. He pulls level with Tom Barlow with 10 goals on the season. It will be an interesting photo finish to see if those guys continue to play together. I would love to see those 2 guys start up top again. I like the 2 forward system. I think they did it last week specifically to trouble Tampa Bay because they knew having 2 forwards running at that line could make them uncomfortable. John said as much after the match, and it was absolutely true. They found spaces that way. They created problems that way. They weren't necessarily as dangerous as we're used to, but I think a little bit has to do with just the way that Tampa Bay is set up to play. What? I got my phone yelling at me. But all that said, I think it's a 2-0 match, like I said, and Matthias Jorgensen gets his next 2 goals. Let's switch over to the standings. Tampa Bay still at the top by 2 points. Red Bulls got 2 draws in their last 5 matches that I think they would like back. That Ottawa and that Memphis game. They should be in first right now. Maybe even the Loudoun game. They want that Loudoun game back too.
They do want that game back.
They're followed by Indy 11. They're 4 points back. They have 2 games in hand, though. North Carolina FC is also on 37 points, but they're even on games played. Then Nashville, 35, Pittsburgh, 32, Ottawa, 32, Louisville, 30, Charleston, 26, St. Louis FC, 24. We mentioned a desperate team in St. Louis FC. Listen to the last 5 games for Louisville. 3-0 loss to Loudoun. 1-0 loss to Beth Steel, a 1-1 draw against Ottawa, and a 1-1 draw against Indy 11. Their only win in that time was a 2-1 win over Nashville. They're having a rough stretch of games. It'll be interesting to see where they net out. I still think, regardless of what else happens, it's going to be Louisville, New York Red Bulls in the Eastern Conference Finals. Just because.
I feel like Louisville doesn't peak until. I feel like they don't peak until August. I mean, they really. Like, when they came to Montclair last year and beat Red Bulls 2, that's when they really started getting going. I think it's going to take them 1 win to start to get going again. And then they're just that team in the playoffs. They just know how to play teams. They just seem to make adjustments very well in game, and they come out and they play their best at late in the season.
Speaking of which, there's 13 matches left for the Red Bulls 2. Are we going to see a home match at MSU for the playoffs?
Well, you're going to ask me that. Boy, they are all right. So the team that's closest to them is Nashville, but Nashville has a game in hand on them. And they're 6 points up on Nashville. I think we're going to see one. You know what? I'm going to actually make a bold prediction down the stretch. I think they will. I think they will win 4 road games between now or between September and October. Let me check to see how many road games they play.
They have quite a few.
They play.
Most of what's left is road games.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3.
I think they have 4
They play
home
6
matches
road
left.
games.
Yeah.
They play 6 road games. They will have 4 wins out of those 6 road games between September and October.
Okay.
That's my bold prediction.
That is a pretty bold prediction. I am predicting that they're going to get a home playoff game. Please don't mess it up at the end of the year, guys. Under the line, tied with St. Louis right now, Charlotte, 24 points. Beth Steel, 22. Birmingham Legion, 22. Loudoun, 19. They're slowly climbing the table. They're not a bad team. Memphis, 901, 18 points. Swope Park, 15. Atlanta United, 2, 14. Hartford Athletic, 13. Down there in the bottom, Hartford. Out west, Oh, look, Phoenix won again. Whoopity-doo.
I told you.
They beat the worst team in USL West 1-0. All right, maybe not the worst, but one of the worst teams. Come on, Phoenix. I thought you were an offensive dynamo. What is that? No, I'm trying to rile up Joe. It's not working.
Listen, I mean, they even some of the best offensive teams don't have their best games. I believe they're on the road too. So, listen, if they're the number one seed in the West, I don't see anybody beating them and going into Phoenix and winning. I just don't see it.
We shall see.
I think they're, again, I'm still going to say it. I still think they are the best team in USL right now. Okay. I don't, and I think by. What?
I said, look out.
I mean, I wanted to see a Phoenix Red Bull 2 final last year, but this year it looks likely.
No, I wouldn't want to see that. I want you to continue to think that Phoenix is a good team. I don't want you to see what happens when they come up against the Red Bulls.
I mean, it would be great to see. It would be great to see Aguinaga and Junior Flemings, back most likely Phoenix is going to lock up number one seed out of all the USL, so USL Championship, unless Red Bulls 2 go or Tampa goes on a run.
I tend to think teams like Phoenix are peaking too soon if they're looking like this in July, but you never know. You never know. West is so soft. They could absolutely take it. Underneath, you like that, right?
I feel like you wouldn't be saying this if they actually, if the West had won one of the two finals against Louisville City, you wouldn't be saying this. But the West has lost 3 years in a row to the East. So
4, because
4. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it was Rochester before that.
Yeah. So 4. All right. So they've lost 4 years in a row.
Yeah.
But Swell Park is now in the East. So.
Yep, that's true. Okay, so underneath Phoenix at number 1, then Reno 1868, breathing down their neck, but they've played 2 more games. They've got 41 points. Then Fresno FC 37, Austin Bold, that's who's going to win the West. Calling it now. Austin Bold, 32 points. Not that I really think that they deserve that. I'm just saying it. 29 points for New Mexico United, El Paso Locomotive, 29 points, OKC Energy, 29 points, LA Galaxy 2, 29 points, Real Monarchs, 28, Portland Timbers 2, 28, and then under the line, Sac Republic, San Antonio, Orange County, Las Vegas Lights, Rio Grande Valley, Colorado Springs Switchbacks, Tulsa Roughnecks, and Tacoma Defiance. Tacoma has remained a single point ahead of Hartford for being the worst team in the league. They are currently tied for last with, or second to last rather, with Atlanta United 2. Anyway, they did win.
I'll say Tacoma's probably the worst team in the league.
Tacoma won midweek against Las Vegas Lights, baby, 4-1. It was great. Yeah, look, we talked about those standings from 15th to 5th in the West is separated by 6 points. It's just so volatile. It's impossible to figure out how that's going to shake out right now. It's not worth even trying to figure it out. And if you go higher up the standings, it's not by that much more. It's an additional 3 more points. So it's 12 points separating. Is that right? No, I did the math wrong on that. No, I'm right. No, I'm not. It's 9 points separate. Jesus. It's late, guys. And I got no excuses. 9 points separating 15th to 4th in the West. That's just crazy. Totally crazy. If the team in 15th place doubled their current point total in the East, they could go up to 5th, but that would be 18 points. So that tells you how much more set in stone the East is right now than the West. And that's it. I got nothing else I want to talk about. Do you?
Nope.
All right.
I think that's it.
Let us get the heck out of here before I try to do more math and look like a fool. If you want to follow us on Twitter, I am at _Joe Goldstein.
I am at jsteen15.
And if you'd like to follow the show, and we hope you do, we are at Raising Bull Cast. That's one bull, Raising Bull Cast. And of course, that's on Twitter. You can follow our work at rbnn.us. That's the Red Bulls News Network. We were the first to break the news about the hiring of Sean McCafferty. We were able to do stuff like that from time to time. You guys should check it out if you're not already. I got a feeling if you're listening to the show, there's a good chance you've been to RBNN, but who knows? Maybe you don't. Give us another chance. We love you. You can also find us at facebook.com/raisingbulls. You can go to raisingbulls.com, where we post all of our episodes. You can even send us questions there to questions@raisingbulls.com. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We're there. Find us, rate us, review us. It helps. It really does mean something to us, and we will love you for it. We're part of the Beautiful Game Network at bgn.fm, covering MLS, USL, Premier League, NWSL, you name it. They got tons and tons of great shows like Rising as One, Mongols, Play the Kids, 1868 Weekly, Down in the Valley, Old Glory Red Report, St. Louis Soccer Report, Texas Soccer Radio, The Unused Substitute, and Tornado Alley, and so much more. They've got a ton of great content, including written content and podcasts at bgn.fm. Go check it out. It's the Beautiful Game Network. And, of course, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Golden Goal Press, the best choice for you to get custom shirts, hats, mugs, and other items for just yourself or your organization. Check out their amazing products at a fraction of the price of other places at goldengoalpress.com. Last but not least, I want to thank our sponsor, Roughneck Scarves, the official scarf supplier of MLS, USL, and US Soccer. Get custom scarves for your group or team at roughneckscarves.com. For myself, for Mr. Joe Steen, and of course, Roy Boateng, thank you so much and have a great night. Don't clap, you're driving.
Oh, I'm on a red light.